Hi there, welcome to Peg Space Bytes. Today's Space Bite is about Project Mercury. Enjoy. Project Mercury was the first space program in the United States designed for human spaceflight. Its main objectives were to put a human into Earth's orbit, determine humans' ability to function in space, and return him and the spacecraft safely to Earth. The total time that the Project Mercury missions were in space was 53 hours, 55 minutes, and 27 seconds. Project Mercury's manned spacecraft was a bell-shaped capsule made of titanium and had an escape tower fastened to the top of the cylinder. Due to the capsule being so compact, only one astronaut could fit inside. There were 6 Project Mercury missions from 1961 to 1963. All 6 missions were launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. The first 4 flights splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean, and the last 2 flights splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. The first 2 Project Mercury flights were launched by a Mercury Redstone rocket, which was 83.38 feet tall, 5.83 feet in diameter, and weighed 66,000 pounds. The other 4 Project Mercury flights were aboard an Atlas D rocket, which had a mass of 262,000 pounds, a height of 82.51 feet, and a diameter of 10 feet. There were 110 men chosen who went through a series of tests to narrow down the selection of the top 7 candidates. After many hours of physical, psychological, mental, and written tests, the Mercury 7 astronauts chosen were Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. The first Project Mercury flight was launched on May 5, 1961 at 9:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alan Shepard was the first man to be launched into space. He is aboard the Freedom 7 spacecraft on mission Mercury Redstone 3. This historic suborbital flight lasted only 15 minutes, 28 seconds, and reached an altitude of 116 miles. Its maximum speed was 5,180 miles per hour. Alan Shepard experienced 6.3 Gs, or 6.3 times his normal weight. After the main engine was shut down, he was able to get his first view of Earth, which appeared black and white. He did not experience weightlessness since he was strapped in too tight. It did not see any stars due to the position of the porthole windows. Gus Grissom was the second man to be launched into space on July 21, 1961 at 7:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. He was aboard the Liberty Bell spacecraft on mission Mercury Redstone 4, which was the second suborbital flight. There were 3 improvements made to the original capsule. The control panel was redesigned to accommodate future orbital flights. The small portholes were replaced with a large picture window. Finally, an explosive hatch was installed. Mission MR4 lasted 15 minutes, 37 seconds, and reached an altitude of 118.3 miles. Its maximum speed was 5,134 miles per hour. Gus Grissom experienced 11.2 Gs, or 11.2 times his normal weight. John Glenn was the 3rd American astronaut in space and the first American astronaut to orbit Earth. On February 20, 1962 at 9:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, aboard the Freedom 7 spacecraft, John Glenn was launched into space for mission Mercury Atlas 6. John Glenn orbited Earth 3 times, which took 4 hours, 55 minutes. The speed of the rocket was 17,544 miles per hour, had an altitude of 162 miles, and traveled 75,679 miles. John Glenn was weightless for 4 hours, 48 minutes. Mercury Atlas 7 mission was the 4th Project Mercury flight. The capsule named Aurora 7 and Scott Carpenter were launched into space on May 24, 1962 at 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The flight's altitude was 166.8 miles and traveled at 17,549 miles per hour. Aurora 7 orbited Earth 3 times for a total of 4 hours and 56 minutes and traveled 76,021 miles. Scott Carpenter was weightless for 4 hours, 39 minutes. Sigma 7 was the 5th spacecraft launched into space during Project Mercury for the Mercury Atlas 8 mission. Wally Schirra was on board when it was launched on October 3, 1962 at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The flight's altitude was 175 miles and traveled at 17,558 miles per hour. Sigma 7 orbited Earth 6 times, which took 9 hours, 13 minutes for a total of 143,983 miles. Wally Schirra was weightless for 8 hours, 56 minutes. The final Project Mercury mission, named Mercury Atlas 9, was launched on May 15, 1963 at 8:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The capsule, Faith 7 and Gordon Cooper, made this historic flight. The flight's altitude was 165.9 miles and traveled at 17,547 miles per hour. The capsule orbited Earth 22.5 times, which took 1 day, 10 hours, and 19 minutes, for a total of 546,167 miles. Gordon Cooper was weightless for 34 hours, 3 minutes. He conducted 11 experiments during this Mercury flight and was the first astronaut to sleep in space. I hope you enjoyed today's Space Bite. Learn about the Gemini program on the next Space Bite. Remember, endeavor to discover new horizons and challenge yourself to reach for the stars. See you next time. Bye-bye.